Hello once again, everyone. Today, we're going to have our panel discussion, and there are a couple of questions, actually 3 questions that I'd like to ask our panelists. Our panelists are actually the experts that we've tapped to give us an update on what is happening in our new cyber norm. So, the first person actually that I'd like to call on, not to answer the question yet, but just to mention who are actually with us right now. From Huawei, we have Kevin Lee, Kevin. And then we have from Trends, Viktor Pozgay. And then Qualys is represented by Ryan T. Palo Alto and Westcon is actually represented by its country manager, Oscar Visaya. We have CyCognito represented by Michael Tan. And last but not the least, Darktrace with Kristine Maglaque, the director for the Philippines and Indonesia. So let's move on. Let's start this off. I'll ask the first question, and I'd like everybody to think about it because it's something that's more general and it applies to all of us at this point in time. The first question is, what would you consider as the most critical mindset that organizations had or has to adopt in order to keep pace with the events brought about by the new cyber norm? I'll be raising it up, and I'd like to ask Kevin to start it off, please.
All right. So thank you for the question. Let me share a little bit from my point of view because I'm from Huawei Cloud. So I'm more focusing on helping customer moving their traditional applications or their on-premise application to the new cloud environment, right? During this transaction, I think from customer point of view, more and more, the mindset is changing from just thinking about how to protect their internal network, internal asset, to be more focusing on how to also look through their internal process when they move to the cloud environment. I'm talking about not only depending on the vendor or on the third party to do all the hardware, but also from themselves, from the customer as an organization, how they can hardening their internal process or their internal mindset or thinking about to do the right thing or to do the thing right. So that's more about the security, for example, the security governance. So we're talking about how to bring up the security awareness in-house to make sure everybody understand the importance of the security and what is the policy we should apply when we do all the day-to-day activities. And also it's about understanding the responsibilities. So before moving to the cloud, basically our customer will take care of everything by themselves. But after moving to a new cloud environment, so the platform, the infrastructure is basically will be looking after by the vendor. But again, this is not about transfer all your responsibilities to the vendor, but rather you are entering into a shared responsibility model. So this is very important to our customer to change the mindset, to not only thinking from their point of view to how they look after their environment security, but also how they can evaluate or how they can measure the vendor's capability to help them to build that security environment and also help to protect their most important data asset. So that's what I think is the most, the mindset changing part.
Hey, thank you very much, Kevin. May I call on Kristine? Your thoughts on this particular question?
Sure. Thank you for that question. Over the last decade, organizations has been focused on just stopping attackers from penetrating your organization. And we do think that it's a futile effort. Mainly at most, it will be more effective on low attacks. But as we are all aware, cyber threat criminals are starting to become more effective and more innovative as we speak. So we liken this scenario in terms of the skin. We have a skin that protects us from external threats. However, in a situation where the threat has already entered the body, that is where you rely on an immune system. So our perspective is that organizations start to assume that attacks will start to penetrate organization and breaches will eventually happen. This is the kind of mindset that we think organizations should embrace. The Darktrace technology acts similarly as a digital immune system, leverage on self-learning AI, having the ability to understand what is normal for users, devices, and as well as network environments. And from here, we also have the ability to detect what is strange. Our technology will eventually assume that attacks will happen, and what is important is for organizations to quickly neutralize this attack. Ultimately, you need to rely on a cutting-edge AI technology. As of 2020, we have identified that 70% of the organizations that used our AI have detected virus activity, and this number just continues to grow. So it's no longer stopping the threats, but containing them quickly to ensure that disruption of the attack does not negatively impact organization.
All right. Thank you very much, Kristine. Can we move on? Michael, your thoughts on this question?
Yep. So with the new cyber norm, BYOD, IoT, remote work, cloud adoptions, legacy systems and applications, and integrations of various other next generation technologies, the digital footprints of a business environment is getting increasingly complex to manage. As a result, I think the external attack surface has grown exponentially. And thus, the attackers are finding windows of opportunity to exploit all these targets. So what is external attack surface? Basically, it means any asset that an attackers may see on or with a path to your network. For a large enterprise, the modern externally exposed attack surface can include thousands of segmented networks, tens or hundreds of thousands of devices, applications, connected partners, and so forth. So it's even now more critical for organizations to stay laser focused on reducing, managing the external attack surface, and take a step towards building a cyber resilient infrastructure.
Okay, thank you, Michael. Allow me to repeat the question so that at least we can refresh the others who will actually be answering the same question. What would you consider as the most critical mindset that organizations had or has to adopt in order to keep pace with the events brought about by the new cyber norm? Okay, can I call on Viktor Pozgay, please?
Yeah, thank you. To build on what the colleagues have mentioned, if you look at the way we work, the way the applications are consumed, we are living in a world that is hyper connected. People work from home, from the office. They consume applications in the cloud, on premise. We work with a multitude of partners in supply chain that is very complex, and so the way to go about it is shifting from protecting the perimeter to adopting an approach like zero trust architecture and simplifying also the way we go about detecting and managing threats, putting in a lot of automation as well as utilizing cloud-based services to supplement the security operations and the analysts to be able to detect threats and respond to threats faster.
Okay, thank you, Viktor. Can I move on to Oscar? Oka, can you give us your inputs on this, please?
Yeah, Tito, thanks for the question. So the mindset that organizations should stay ahead of threats rather than react to them. So in this sophistication of threat, it's not easy to do it, Chito. And I think the challenge is really around visibility of assets going outside of the perimeter, in the cloud, in the phone. And with this challenge, we need to have organizations have 100% visibility of all these digital assets. Now, from an outside-in perspective and from an inside-out perspective. So this includes identities, devices, workloads, IoTs, but at the same time also the digital assets that are evolving, like serverless function, containers in the cloud. So we should have a list of all these assets, because we believe that you cannot secure what you do not see. So bottom line, we need organizations to have a better visibility of their digital infrastructure compared to others.
Okay. Thank you, Oka. I guess, Ryan, can you please give me your inputs on this particular question?
Thank you, Sir Chito. Good afternoon, everyone. I think on top of all the concepts and mindset that has been shared to us, I think the most important for me, at least looking into the future, is that we are open to synergize with all stakeholders, meaning as end users, as customers, as vendors, government agencies, regulators. There's so many aspects of the attack: why it happens, how it happened, and how to react. And I believe Oscar's opinion is because we do observe that you can't secure what you don't know. And that's why visibility is our foremost concept in terms of helping out our customers. We develop our product, thinking about the future and not the current attacks. And so with this, I would like to mention what my ex-CEO, he recently passed away, he always tells us, necessity is the mother of invention or innovation, right? So with this COVID, phenomenon that's on us right now, I think everybody had no choice but to adapt, right? Everybody 100% adopted, but what is the mindset there? Are we going to adapt and accept the fact that cloud is the new norm? We get to use AI. We need to partner with other organizations, seek help from other organizations in order to address security issues that is affecting our type of business. So with that, I think being open, working together as a whole, there's a lot of projects out there. The government has initiated a lot of these infrastructure tools and all that. But the question is, can we actually, have the people locally to actually run all these capabilities that we aspire on? So I think that's again the most important thing: synergize and be open, working together.
Okay. Thank you, Ryan, for your thoughts. Now I'd like to go to the industry to which I belong, the banking industry, represented primarily by Mr. Ramon Hoxon. He's the COO of BPI, but at the same time, he's actually representing the Bankers Association of the Philippines for his input on this same question. Mon, can you please give us your ideas, your thoughts on this matter?
Okay, thank you very much. I was on mute. With regards to our approach, we have a lot of, as you know, a lot of circulars, directives,
Yes.
or guidances that we have to comply with. So what needs to be done for most of the enterprises under banking is more and more we're banking on a risk-based approach. Because if we follow all the guidances coming from our regulators, if we're going to follow all of the guidances also given by our vendors, we won't have enough time. We won't have enough people to do most of the things that we need to do. So more and more, given the heightened threats that are out there, most banks are adopting more and more risk-based approach where we weigh all of the different assets and different risks. And then we choose what we want to protect. This as a combination of the traditional practice of fencing depth now becomes the new normal, coupled with analytics. So that's how we're coping with it. And last but not the least, I think I heard one of the reactors mention information sharing. It's very important for us in the DAP. We have a common cyber security incident database where we report all incidences, because for us that serves the listening post or an alert database for us. Because if one of the banks gets hit by a certain malware or threat, we're able to give the possible guidance to other members as to how they can prevent or protect themselves. So, in a nutshell, it's really more about adopting more and more risk-based approach. Secondly, as you take the risks, applying defense in depth. Thirdly, in the industry, we're relying more on information sharing to ensure that all of us are able to at least alert the others when something happens. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you, Mon. That goes for the first question. I'd like to ask the second question at this point. The second question states, what are the societal or societal consequences, meaning changes and transformations, brought about by the new cyber norm on the lives of business clients and their families? So when we talk about this, we're referring to particularly to our clients, to the end point, to the people that we're actually serving as a whole. Can you please share your thoughts on this?
Is it me again?
Can I start with you,
Okay.
Mon?
Thank you very much. I think as with the advent of more digital tools, with more apps that allow clients to do self-survey, and then we also have more rules about privacy, where it's opening up with the open finance framework, where personal information can be shared along certain parameters. We also have IoT. We also have more intelligent devices. So really, convenience is at the fingertips of the consumer. Consumers need to understand that as they do that, there's also a personal obligation. The societal impact is that most clients need to be aware that protection starts with them. That now, with the power of data and functionality at their behest, in their app, on demand at any time, they are also the first line of defense against cybersecurity. So what needs to happen is most people that are dealing in banking or for any industry for that matter understand that in order to participate in this kind of world where technology has made everything convenient, there's a personal obligation on the part of the individual to protect himself. So it is a shared responsibility between the institution and the individual. For the most part, we see most of the incidences around phishing, hacking, all of this credential theft. It's because of the fact that individuals have been careless in spite of the repeated alerts, information, notices, advertorials, and so forth. There must be a personal obligation on every individual that participates in this ecosystem to continue to educate himself on what are the personal obligations required or what are the personal responsibilities that he undertakes as he participates in this ecosystem.
Yes. Thank you very much, Mon. That was very profound, particularly with reference to our banking clients in particular, right? But then again, I'd like to hear from the others. I'd like to start off, ladies first. Kristine, your thoughts on the consequences, societal consequences.
I think Victor has alluded to this earlier, where we have seen organizations rapidly transforming, especially over the last 18 months, increased connectivity, adoption of new technologies, as well as distributed workforce. We are definitely entering an era where hyperconnectivity and digitization is already up upon us. However, alongside this, we also need to acknowledge that attackers are constantly innovating and are increasingly becoming sophisticated. So we are constantly seeing increased attacks in businesses of all sizes, different industries, particularly on critical services and infrastructure. So this simply means that the attack surface is getting wider and organizations need to be vigilant. It's just being becoming more evident that this is no longer a human scale problem, and we need to recognize the role of technology is important. As far as the organizations that we have worked with, we then leverage and start to talk about the importance of cutting edge AI that has the technology to detect and respond autonomously to this with machine speed on behalf of humans.
Okay. Thank you once again, Kristine. Now, I'd like to move on to Ryan. Ryan, your thoughts, please.
Yeah, I think the changes brought about by the cyber norm really brings all these aspirations of having a highly secure, largely secure digital asset. It's a concept that's not something that's not really new. When you talk about zero trust or beyond core, Google started it like 10 years ago or more, right? Some companies, they just saw that there is a vision of a highly secured environment that they imagine the workers would be working from home. Even Qualys, we have started working from home since day one, like 1999, right? And the advantage that these companies have has progressed even further. And so the impact that this COVID brought us here into signifies the decision that was made many years ago. So everybody else saw that the digital companies, the big companies that are getting larger and larger by the day because of these changes, people are trying to replicate what they do right now, right? And I think the jobs that are going to be impacted. I mean, we are all in the IT industry. We're lucky that we're in a very resilient industry right now. But there are lots of the majority of our population right now. If you're not in IT, we need to have a campaign to increase the number of people with a skill set. At least with the idea that this is where the entire world is going. There's a lot of money, budget, resources put into these projects, but eventually you don't really get people to support them. So with that said, I remember when I first when I graduated for my degree, there were just two options for me: healthcare, if you know what I mean. At that time, 2 decades ago, it's always nursing or IT, right? And I chose IT, and coming towards certain now, it's the same thing. So I think these are societal changes that we have to. It's very, very subtle, but when you come back to it and look into what will drive the future of our country or the world, it's about these sciences, two sciences that are really making an impact.
Okay, so that means there was a point in time when you even considered nursing, huh?
Healthcare, yeah, healthcare. But I'm considering healthcare actually if I'm not in IT, yeah.
Right, medical. Thank you, Ryan. Viktor, can you share with us your ideas, your thoughts on this?
Yeah, thank you. I would like to bring probably two aspects. One is to recognize that the pandemic over the last 18 months has completely changed the way we work, that we play and learn, and has put immense stress on people in general. And I think has brought about one important aspect is to focus on well-being. The one element that will likely stay for the future is the way we work. If you look at it, before the pandemic, it was rarely, with some rare exceptions, it was mostly the employers who were dictating how people work, where people work from. And the future of work will be one where the employees will have a choice whether to work from home, whether to work from the office. It will be a hybrid model. Now, why this is important is because employees want to have the same experience, want to have the same tools that allow them to participate, whether they are in the office or remote, and do so in a secure way. So I think this is going to be very important for organizations to enable and securely do so their workforce and the employees, so that they are productive, whether they are at home or at the beach.
Right. So, thank you for that. I would rather be in the beach. Anyway, thank you, Victor. Oka, can you share with us your inputs for this one?
Yeah, Chito. So, I think the last 2 months I've been in my home, which has been transformed as a branch of one. And then along the way, became a branch of two, and then a school of two. So our personal and professional lives are getting more intertwined and integrated. So I mean, personally, I practice integrated work life for a long time already, but again, not a lot of workers out there have. And this is the challenge right now. And this is what the hackers are actually taking advantage on. A vulnerability for the company, and it's using the personal, devices, IoTs of that employee working home to be able to hack into the, business environment. So with this, there has to be some sort of innovation. We have proven that enterprise-grade security has protected enterprises, big companies, governments for a long, long time already, right? And so there is a need for us to bring enterprise-grade security to the homes, But it has to be something that is democratized when it comes to pricing, but also with consumer simplicity, so that's easier for the people working from home to live their business life as well as their personal. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Oka. I'll go to Kevin. Kevin?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I think, to my point of view, some very simple way we can deal with it. This is what we call everybody should build up the security awareness, or we should say a common sense of the security. Basically, is some very simple way can help you to raise the bar of the attack or of the vulnerabilities. So something like in our daily life, you have your fence around your house, you have your alarm, you have the in your car. We all know it doesn't really prevent you from some serious burglar or attacker, but it just raises the bar. By raising the bar, most of the time, the attacker will know it, and they will skip and find the next, less protected witness, right? So this is something I think from the normal people, or from our client, even the business client, or the personal. We can help to build up the common sense. For example, look at your home Wi-Fi. Don't put the open SSID and with no security 1, 2, 3 as a password or something. And also, while do your access to the internet or access to your applications, know what is the correct way to do that, right? For example, don't access some, unprotected website, or when you access your business partners' applications, make sure they have their security measure put in working, right? So you can feel confidence to build up these connectivities, right? And on the other side, just a little bit on the other side, as a vendor, we need to build up their what we call the trustworthiness, right? We need to do our duty to help to build up this, the security measurement, security policy. So our partner, our business partner, our business client will feel confidence when they access our resource, leverage our services, so they can have a peace of mind.
Okay. Thank you, Kevin. Finally, for this particular question, Michael.
Hi. So with the new norm, workers, client, families are adjusting to the changes. So parents spending more times on the mobile phone as to the kids now, not playing games, but on Zoom, team calls, accessing companies' applications or replying emails. So I think most of you will agree with me that the response time expectations of email reply now is almost the same as SMS or WhatsApp. But having said so, not all are bad. I mean, the good part of it is that if we're able to manage the time properly, most will agree with me that the new norm create a better work-life balance. But all this comes with responsibility. Security awareness is important, as there will be the employee and the staff will be the first line of defense. As you can see recently, most of the breaches that happened recently. So it is the employee or people that has been compromised. So I strongly believe that more effort have to be put in for employee, people, security awareness, educations, and training.
Okay. Thank you very much, Michael. I'd like to move on to the next question. The third question is, the new cyber norm has resulted in fast-track implementation of the integration of both IT and OT. What kind of mindset must businesses adopt in order to keep up with these changes? If you don't mind, I'd like to ask our industry representative once again. I'd like to start off one more time with Mon. Mon, what are your thoughts on this?
Hi, Chito. I think you're familiar with how banks spend their IT budgets, right?
Yes.
So the market change is this. Contrast it to 3-4 years ago, where when you take a look at the amount of money that you spend on cybersecurity, it's almost nil, it's almost zero. Fast forward to where we are now, for most banks, it's around 10 to 15% of their IT budget. When I say 10 to 15%, it's not only in terms of the systems that they buy, but also the running of it. Because most of us now subscribe to analytics, most of us subscribe to managed defense and so on. But even with that, the dynamics are that, I think somebody mentioned it earlier, the criminals are also becoming more dynamic. They find ways. Zero-based vulnerabilities will continue as applications move to cloud. So when we now introduce applications in the cloud or even in hybrid and so on, it's now part of the norm that IT professionals in all the banks have to undergo an additional step, which is in the form of BSP directed penetration tests, vulnerability tests, and so on. So the most obvious impact to us is the delay that's caused in introducing applications, whether in the cloud or in our environments, because of this additional step. The second one, as I mentioned, the additional cost. And the third really is that most of our IT folks now, most technology now comes in. We're now very, if I may say, we're looking for technology now that's more intelligent, that embeds maybe some analytics or some intelligence that allows us to identify fraud as it happens. As an example, most of us now implement two-factor authentication, and most of us are moving to mobile key. As a part of that, we're implementing fraud systems on top of that, where before, most of our analytics and fraud are around authorization of credit cards and so on. So it's now around fraud systems, intelligence fraud systems around mobile key. Eventually, it will be around intelligence around exchange with APIs. That will be the next round as we move into open banking. So you will see. In answer to your question, you will see less demarcation in IT and in information security or cybersecurity. One will need the other. Cybersecurity needs to be embedded in all the technologies that we deploy out there. And most of all, it has to have the intelligence to be able to self-adjust or to be able to alert once it detects fraud. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Mon, for that response. Guys, now that you've heard what we need, what we've been doing in the industry at this point in time, what are your thoughts? What are your ideas when it comes to, the business mindset that we need to adopt? Is there anything else on top of what Mon has mentioned that you think, that you believe might be something that we need to adopt as well? I'd like to start off with Viktor, please.
Yeah, so from a mindset perspective, when it comes to your question about IT and OT, it's really organizations to start looking at investing into securing the OT space as well, right? Historically, OT has been segregated, and now with the introduction of IT to drive efficiencies and improvements in management of OT, you have new threat vectors. And it's really going about that in a risk-based, business-based approach and programmatic approach to embed security into the way OT environments are being designed and managed. What we have seen with some of our customers, the foundational step, if you want, is to gain visibility into what's happening in the OT environment, in the OT networks, not only from an OT perspective, but from identifying IT threats and then being able to respond to these threats.
Okay. Thank you, Viktor. Your thoughts, Kristine?
Thanks, Chito. Regarding the convergence of IT and OT, it's basically very evident that the rapid digital transformation has been exacerbated by the recent pandemic. If I were to take the manufacturing industry as an example, we are starting to see more and more companies using smart devices. At the same time, they are starting to provide internet access to critical systems and devices, even to third party. It is then incumbent upon organizations to protect not only the data center, the on-premise physical assets, but also their assets in the cloud. So basically, to properly secure against all these threats, we need to come back to the idea that eventually these threats will penetrate. It's no longer about stopping all these threats, but quickly containing all these threats through an autonomous response. So ultimately, what would be helpful for organizations is to have visibility on these existing threats across their entire digital estate. Thank you.
Thank you, Kristine. I'd like to go back to Kevin. Kevin, what are your ideas with regards to the mindset of this businesses that they need to adopt with regards to the implementation of IT and OT integration?
Okay, thank you. I think the first of all, the integration of IT and OT is definitely rapidly expand the attacking surface, right? So it's from the business point of view, from the company point of view, you need to now put the OT system to be part of your end-to-end security measurement, or what we say put it into your 360-degree security protection system. So OT is not a separate system. It needs to be one system together with your IT, right? So you have the overall policy. You have to unify the measurement, the unified way to protect both OT and IT. And another thing I want to emphasize is because the OT technologies basically connect, machine to machine and the terminals. So basically, they will means you have a huge amount of a new endpoint coming to your system. And traditionally, we are log monitoring, and the log analytics is one of the very powerful tools we leverage to do the security measurement and the security monitor. But now, since you have huge amount of device, maybe they generate a huge amount of logs every day or even every second. So now you can not only rely on a human resource to do the monitor, to do the analytics, but rather than you need to leverage the AI, machine learning, so new technologies to help you to handle this new challenge. So this is another very important thing I want to emphasize, that we have to look at the innovation way to do the security. Yeah, thank you.
Hey, thank you. Michael, your thoughts?
Yeah, I totally agree with Kevin. With the convergence of IT and OT has created a new challenge for organizations as the overall attack surface grows exponentially. And we're not talking about just IT asset, but OT as well. The SOC team will be easily overwhelmed with tons of logs coming from all devices or logs consolidations solutions, threat intels like IOCs, alerts, issues, and so forth. Not only from IT, now also coming from OT. So the organizations will need to relook into the overall security strategy and implementations and adoptions of new ideas and solutions to minimize, to reduce the surface as much as possible, and at the same time, adopting a comprehensive security operations process and procedures. With all this tons of intel coming in and logs coming in, it's very important to focus on AI, automations, integrations, and so forth.
Okay, thank you, Michael. And then one more time, Ryan, what can you say?
I agree with Michael and Kevin on this, and everybody else actually. The effect of the new cyber norm, we can expect a lot of automation. All systems, healthcare, finding out, cures, cancer research, logistics, and by the way, just to share, the robots that powered the logistics companies, like e-commerce, even Amazon started like 2012 or 13. Right. So for business, we would tell them it's not really new. It's just that, because of COVID, we have to adapt right away. And I think in the Philippines, we have very good, direction. We are working on a national ID project. Everybody's going to get banked. Lots of systems, lots of processes, lots of interaction will be more intelligent. But with that power, comes more responsibility. And I think going back to my initial answer to you about what's the mindset that organizations has to have is to really be open to work with, your stakeholders, your partners. Your vendors are your partners. They're no longer your suppliers anymore. You have to extend and find the right partner for you that will be part of your team. It's like an extension team. And with that, you have to have a very good inventory, because nowadays with all of these new technologies and all these recent novel attacks that's happening, we don't even know what's the next type of attack will happen. The next 6 months, 1 year, we got supply chain attacks, we got leakages, breaches, we got ransomware still there, right? So if we work together and you have a very good visibility on all your assets, whether it's from the cloud, on-prem, on your data center, or even your workforce, that will be a very good mindset for businesses to adapt, because businesses like data, intelligent data, that will improve their efficiency, profits and all that. But for the industry as a whole, I think we should look into building a team, with all this experience. Everybody has their own forte, right? It's just a matter of being open to a symposium like this. So I commend, ISOG for bringing us all together here, because we are now aware that some of these basic, even fundamental and even complex problems can be solved by working together and talking to each other.
Okay, thank you, Ryan. Oka, we're limited by time. Something short, but meaningful, I hope. Something that we can actually really digest. And please, go ahead.
Yeah, so first, let me borrow what Mon mentioned earlier. And he said security is part of everything we do. And this kind of mindset actually elevates cybersecurity as a key component of managing the business risk of any organization. And also helps them see that cybersecurity will not stifle innovation and business advancement, but it will actually accelerate it. And so this kind of mindset is very important. But more than that, there is a piece of the strategy on cybersecurity that talks a lot about technology, people, and process. But let me just focus on technology first, because over the past many years, we have essentially organizations have invested in a lot of point products, many different solutions that address many different requirements, and has led to a very complex security architecture. And what we need to use innovation today and in the future in order to simplify it, in order to reduce CTO, but at the same time also brings CTO to a total economic impact of any cybersecurity budget that the CISO will ask from the board. And with this, it really helps the organization become more proactive, to be at par with the sophisticated cyber attackers, and with that, they will have a better at prevention and faster at detection and incident response. And this is the way I believe that organizations can stay ahead of threats, other than reacting. Thanks.
Okay. Thank you very much, Oka. Thank you, everyone. I just want to stress, we all believe shift happens. Please, I hope you've all heard the letter F. Shift happens. Okay. And this actually requires us to re-engineer everything, the way we do things, the way we run our organizations. So once again, thank you very, very much for your thoughts. Thank you very much for sharing with us your ideas. Kevin, Kristine, Michael, Viktor, Oka, Ryan, and of course, Mon, thank you very much for your time. Everybody, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.